now for sports with J.R. Jackson.
Young Turks, we're going to do a little mini sports show here. It's going to be fun. We got Michael Vick, we got David Beckham, we got a character named Yi, apparently playing for the Milwaukee Bucks, or not playing for the Milwaukee Bucks. But first, we're going to start out with Vick. Disastrous news on Vick. What's going on, JR?
It seems Michael Vick is a dog lover. He has a lot of dogs. He's been indicted just yesterday by a federal grand jury for competitive dog fighting, procuring and taking care of training pit bulls and just having dog fights, killing dogs, electrocuting them, all these different very heinous ways of...
Don't rush through that. Electrocuting dogs.
The losing dogs were either electrocuted, drowned, or hung, or shot with guns.
Hung. So, and then sometimes it wasn't even the losing dog. The fight would be until one dog killed the other dog, or another dog would give up. And then they would either electrocute, as you said, douse water with the dog. And according to the indictment, they would take the dog to Michael Vick and say, okay, this dog lost, do we lose? And Vick would go, death. But also, the other thing was back in April of 07, it's just according to the indictment, so it's not been proven yet. But according to the indictment, back in April of 07, 8 dogs they tested for fighting. Right, they're like, are these dogs ready to fight? And they're like, nah, these dogs aren't good enough to fight. And those dogs were either hung, all of them, hung, hanged, drowned, or slammed to the ground.
No, here's two devastating parts of this. One, killing the dogs in such a vicious manner. It wasn't just like, hey, this dog needs to be put down because he's in trouble. It was more like he lost, so we're going to hang him, okay, or drown him. Or they didn't even fight. Oh, this one can't fight. And then they executed him. That is beyond sick, man. And then second part of this is that Vic says, oh, I didn't know what was happening in my house. Dude, you got 66 dogs, 55 pit bulls in your house, and you didn't know about it?
Saying it because he was rarely there. But the name of the name of the kennel was Bad News Kennels.
Wait, with this
NEWZ. And he was born in Newport News, which on his website they say it's also called Bad News.
Yeah,
it's references Bad News. So there's all connection to him. It's very, you're proud of your home city where you're born, and then you name your dog and laughter.
Right, and this isn't joking around stuff, man. The dude got indicted. Okay, now it's really serious. So he's screwed. He's screwed for two reasons. One, legally he's in a lot of trouble, and two, public opinion is not going to sit well on this one.
We don't tolerate cruelty to animals in this country.
But this is where it comes from. Okay, now also dogfighting is kind of considered sometimes a hood sport. Go back where you came from. You grew up in the projects.
It's what Gilbert Arenas said. It's cultural. You don't understand.
Exactly.
Nah.
So, and also Clinton Portis said that. He got in trouble just for saying.
I got my Washington athletes confused.
Yeah.
Portis said it, not Arenas.
Okay, just for even saying that, Clinton Portis got in some hot water about it. So, but it's all considered in this one community of where you came from. You make sure that at least people, make sure you don't tell anybody you sold out. Or this guy has millions of dollars, and these bets were going from hundreds of dollars to thousands. Big effing deal. So.
It wasn't even about the money. It was about the cruelty.
Yeah, no, it's about making sure you're staying within that same realm of where you came from. It has nothing to do with money, obviously.
That's so
$1,000?
dumb. Because then I could say, hey, you know what? Some of the Muslim athletes, they had to circumcise their wives. That's how they roll in their hood. Female circumcision.
There's no excuse. Not cultural, no nothing. You can't be cruel to domesticate. You can't be cruel to any animal. You can't be cruel to domesticated animals. Huge trouble for Michael Vick. I can't imagine him not getting booed everywhere he goes.
All right. David Beckham. He's going to save soccer in the U.S. We paid $250 million. I think you think that's a great investment, right?
What a colossal waste of money. And I was watching the news this weekend, the local news here in L.A., and they're like, the big story, he's here, Bex is here.
Does anybody care?
He's a soccer player, man. Nobody gives a crap. We don't play soccer in this country. They play it in Europe, and they love it. God bless them. They play it in South America. They play it in the Middle East some. They play it in Africa. They don't play it here, man, and they're not about to start because he brought in a 34-year-old, or maybe he's only 32. Mm-hmm. But he's done. I mean, he's hurt all the time. I mean, he might have a couple of good games here and there. He's done. People might be excited here. He might fill the stadium here. But he is not going to, Pele didn't change it with the North American Soccer League in the late 70s. And David Beckham is not going to change it now.
See, the problem is, if he was in his prime and he was playing against other prime players, then it actually might be interesting, even for those of us who care a little bit about soccer. So, like, oh, he's playing against Figo, he's playing against, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho. Okay, now we're having an interesting conversation. But just him by himself at the end of his career, and you're going to pay $250 million for that? Man, that's a bad way to spend money.
This is my advice for soccer. One, eliminate offsides. Two, I've said this before, the goal becomes the length of the field, the whole width of the field, and you have 3 goalies. All of a sudden, hey, what do you know? AC Milan beat Manchester United 17-14. It was thrilling.
You're an idiot. Now, what's going on with this Yi character?
Jianlian, if I pronounce his name right. He was drafted by the Milwaukee Bucks in the NBA draft.
Early in
China.
the draft.
Early, yeah. They're
high,
the
like 6th
pick.
or something, yeah, maybe.
And even before that, he refused to work out with the Bucks. He said he's not going to play for them if they draft him. When the Bucks did draft him, people said, well, maybe there's a move they're going to try and trade, get somebody else. Bucks declared that they're going to keep him. Now, the Chinese spokesman and also his
Agent.
club team, his club team coach back in China also said, he's not going to play. He can't be marketed there. He can't have growth there. He can't get a lot of exposure because there's not a large Chinese community in Milwaukee.
First of all, why not? Chinese people, go to Milwaukee. You'll love it.
Oh, there they are.
Yeah, that's right. That's Little China in downtown Milwaukee. That's Little Beijing.
I have 2 things to say about Yi. Number one, that dude is tall, man. Okay, he's not playing. Second of all, he's not playing. Literally. Okay, and get your ass to Milwaukee and play some basketball. What? That's not how it works, man. They drafted you. Shut up and play.
Yeah, I'm going to have to. I mean, I agree in a perfect world, but the flip side is there's no principle here. The Bucks screwed up. They should have checked it first. They got to trade him.
They didn't have to check it. It was known it was going to happen. But the thing is now, their leverage from the Chinese side is they know the NBA is trying to be worldwide, and they're trying to reach out to China especially. So that's their leverage.
Yep.
The flip side is Kobe pulled the same exact move and wound up with the Lakers in the league like that.
John Elway pulled the exact same move. Wouldn't play for the Colts, then went on to a Hall of Fame career with the Broncos.
As the Milwaukee Bucks, you're going to give away this guy who's potentially a superstar, and then have him kicking your ass somewhere else in the league and be pissed.
Well, they got to get like a high draft pick for him, or switch draft picks with somebody. The league's got to step in, try to help. I mean, the Bucks were a boneheaded move, but you don't draw a line in the sand here. You gotta get something for the guy. If he's not going to play, he's not going to play.
Yep. All right, there you have it, guys. More clips on theyoungturks.com.